Good afternoon and welcome to yet another podcast on business networking with Vipul Bondal. Today is the ninth podcast of this series, and so far we've had some very successful people who've been on this podcast. We've had people who've been from the travel industry, we've had a psychologist, we had a corporate filmmaker, we've had a uh, sales trainer, and so on. And we've had a business coach in our last edition as well. But today I have somebody who I immensely respect, and I also respect the brand that he represents. A very dear friend, Prashant Bhatia. Welcome, Prashant.
Thank you, Vipul.
A quick introduction of Prashant Bhatia. Prashant is the managing partner of Cambridge Apparels. Cambridge Apparels is a brand which most of us are aware, highly visible brand through their retail presence. Also, many of us who had corporate careers are very familiar with Cambridge because we use their products very often, especially men. Well, Cambridge Apparels, for a quick introduction, are a complete wardrobe solutions brand for men, offering a blend of comfort and fashion. It's a 64-year-old brand, and to date has been a testament to the quality of their products, conscientious service, wide variety, bespoke designs, and affordability. And that's some core values that Prashant himself embodies. Well, a little bit about Prashant personally. He's studied in the US, followed by some extensive work experience in retail there before he came back to join the family business in the year 2000, and has been part of the company, leading the company for the last 24 years. He says 24 years of lessons learned the hard way, mistakes made, and corrective steps taken, fueled in no small part by constant drive for innovation. And I'm going to ask him about all of these things. Prashant is proud to have been part of a legacy, and indeed it is, that has celebrated 64 years in men's fashion. Any brand which has been around for 64 years is definitely something to learn from. And we have the man himself, Prashant Bhatia. Welcome, Prashant.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vipul. Thank you so much for calling me two things at the start of this whole thing. You called me successful and you said respected. So yeah, thank you so much for those additional titles also.
Both of them you are.
Happy to be here and pleasure to be with you.
Right. So from what we understand, and also, yes, I forgot to mention, although I had it at the back of my mind, Prashant is also the author of a very nice book, which I finished reading in 3 hours flat yesterday. It's called Dress the Part. So, it's all about dressing, obviously, because that's what he does, dressing up other people and himself. And, it gives some wonderful tips on how to build your wardrobe. And a book I would highly recommend to everybody, especially people like me, who I think are illiterates when it comes to dressing the part. So welcome, Prashant.
Thank you, Vipul.
So you're the third generation in this business, I'm told.
Yeah.
And, and a brand that's quite synonymous with virtually dressing in India. You guys are probably the pioneers of corporate dressing in a way. And can you tell us, how you got into this business? Because you were studied in the US, quite successful there. But what brought you back? And, what were the circumstances that led you to being part of Cambridge?
So this wasn't part of the master plan. The master plan was, so as you rightly said, I'm the third generation. So just a little, few steps back is that this brand was started by my grandfather, who
Right.
also was not really a trained apparel manufacturer. He was an accidental apparel manufacturer. He learned the trade while he was working as an accountant in 1955. And
Right.
years later, he learned the ins and outs of the trade, and that's how he got started. And then my father and my other uncles, they joined him in the business.
Right.
Was very blessed to have had the opportunity to study abroad. So, as I said, the master plan was to escape. I did not really want to become part of this whole the family business
Right.
culture, because I had read enough of enough that it goes nowhere. And very very funnily, I read about this quote also much later in after I joined the business. So I mean, it's a little hindsight that it's the first generation that introduces the business, launches the business, the second generation that grows the business, and the third generation that blows the business. I
Right.
definitely did not want to be part of that third generation that blew the business. But jokes apart, that was not the plan. The plan was to get a degree abroad, get some more years of get some work experience, some real world work experience as well,
Yeah.
with an international company, and then pursue my masters. Like, give myself all the tools and equipment that is needed to and then probably decide to come back into the business. But life had different plans,
Right.
and as soon as I graduated, I was offered an opportunity to intern with General Motors
Okay.
for as one of the interns over there. There was a consulting company. They liked the work that we did for General Motors, for a dealership of General Motors while we were still in school. And he gave me this opportunity. He said, "I'll take you to General Motors, and we'd like you to, work as an intern. That will open up a lot of doors." And of course, at that age, and I'm saying 1999. I mean, at that age, when I was all of 21, I mean, that seemed like a wow of an opportunity, because coming from a family business, where General Motors would have been, I don't know what kind of a pipe dream. I did not even imagine that
Absolutely.
it was a possibility. And that opportunity, so I picked up the phone to call my dad. And before I could break the news to him, he said, "Well, things have changed here on the business front, and I need you to come back immediately."
Okay.
So I did not even, for the longest time, even go on to tell him that this opportunity with General Motors was available. But yeah, so that happened. I graduated in '99, January of 2000. I resumed. I embarked on my journey as an entrepreneur into the business, and that's 2000 is when I actually joined the business. So yeah, I mean,
All right.
a lot of twists and turns that happened, but yeah, life had decided that I had to dress people up. So that's exactly what I'm doing for the last 24 years now.
Fantastic. So, in your book, you at the beginning of the book, the part which normally people don't read, but I read. You mentioned something very interesting. You said that your business had certain challenges in the recent past, and that you're trying to turn it around. And when you wrote this book about a year and a half ago, you were still in the process of that challenges getting resolved and turning around.
Yeah,
So, and I don't know, would you like to talk about it now?
sure. So basically, the challenges that I'm referring to, so this whole idea of this book happened, like just after the first, I think it was somewhere around the second wave was just over of COVID. And so COVID basically presented, I think, the entire world, of course, with a lot of challenges. And the apparels industry as such took the biggest hit. Like, literally overnight, we fell from 100 to 20 in terms
Right.
of consumption. And it was common sense. We were not going out of our houses.
Correct.
What was the need for clothes? So
Right.
the biggest challenge started for us over there. And it so happened that we started in the business, the brand came into existence in 1960. So 2020 happened to be the 60th year of the brand.
Right.
COVID hit us somewhere around the middle of March, and going around, I think we had mega plans that were supposed to start in the middle of April for the 60th year celebrations. So
Okay.
we had massive growth plans. We had massive inventory that we had,
Okay.
planned to manufacture already on its way. A lot of it sitting in our warehouses.
Yeah.
Geographically, before that, we had gotten very aggressive. So from being a player that was dominant in the western region, primarily the state of Maharashtra, we had spread our wings to enter the eastern states, certain northern states, the southern part of the country. So, I mean, we had kind of sowed the seeds to kind of, get a launch pad in place. And from there, we were to kind of, just take off.
Right.
But again, life had other plans for all of us. And
Yeah.
2020 March, and overnight, all of these things happen. And I think I remember the day. It was somewhere around the first week of June. We went to the warehouse. We were wearing those masks and we were just looking at the inventory. And I was with my senior sales team, and all of us is just looking at each other, wondering what are we going to do with so much inventory. So I mean,
Yeah.
those were the biggest challenges that actually hit us. And we primarily have been, as you said at the start, makers of formal wear clothing.
Right.
But as we grew and we took the path of exclusive brand outlets, opening exclusive brand
Correct.
outlets for a store, which means if Vipul, you enter a store that bears the name Cambridge, you would find anything and everything that you would need for your
Right.
Monday to Sunday dressing
Correct.
requirements. And
Correct.
you wouldn't have to step out or to anywhere else or to look at anybody else. So we basically grew our product portfolio to include categories that were not our forte, and
Right.
that typically happens. I think that typically, and it was a good lesson to learn as well. It typically happens with all brands when they're in the growth stage or when they are growing or when things are going well. They take upon themselves a lot more than they can handle, or a lot more than what they are known for in the market,
Correct.
because the certain customers in North India said we need this as well to run an exclusive brand outlet. The guys
Correct.
in South India said we don't need this, but we need something else. So in the quest for growth, or in the quest to satisfy your customers' requirements, you spread yourself a little thinner than what you should ideally be
Right.
doing.
Right.
So that situation taught us a lot. Overnight, we decided to cut out product portfolios in products from our portfolio. We said we're not going to do so many things. We're going to stick to the basics, because now suddenly the whole situation had changed.
Right.
Even after we went on to the hybrid model, a lot of industries went back to the hybrid model.
That's right.
Still, they had consumed so much of products that they were sitting home and wearing, that now the requirement for that product was practically non-existent. And some suddenly they came back to, I mean, like, you are going back into your office after a year and a half, and your sizes
Correct.
have changed. Either you've shrunk, or you have
Yeah.
or you have put on weight. And that happened typically with all of us,
Correct.
because we
Correct.
were sitting home and doing nothing, literally working, but yeah,
Absolutely.
working from home.
Absolutely.
So suddenly the requirements came in, and they basically were focusing only on the formal wear for us.
Correct.
So those were certain, really big challenges for us that we had to cope with. And a lot of lessons we learned is, and this I go back to Steve Jobs, way of thinking, that when the entire market was talking about doing printers, Microsoft was doing this, IBM was doing, Canon was doing, HP was doing, he at that point of time said, we're not going to do it. It's okay for us to lose out on that, but let's do whatever we are doing in the best possible way. So these were certain lessons that were kind of like, you read it, but you're like, no, Steve Jobs thought differently. That's a US market, this is the India market, here my customers want it, how can I say no to my customers?
Correct.
So those were a lot of lessons learned, and I think the biggest takeaways were that, I think all of us should just do what we are best known for doing, instead of spreading ourselves too thin and trying to please everybody who's trying to come into our stores. And this holds true for, I think, all brands in the market. I mean, there are brands, I know, I'm sure you and I both know, that probably sell no more than 3 or 4 product lines. And
Correct.
here, despite offering so much, we were still saying, what more can we offer to the customer? So those are challenges that we had to actually cope with. And we lost a few stores because rents were high. Businesses had vanished from certain towns and cities because they were too dependent on the IT sector. The IT sector decided to go completely offline.
Yeah. That's true.
So those challenges actually, cut our store counts. And a year and a half back, things started looking better. We started talking to the traders in the market. We started talking to a lot of shopkeepers in the market who were expressing interest in opening up, standalone outlets of Cambridge again.
Right.
And so, yeah, now we are back on that path wherein, we are accelerating towards the journey of increasing our store counts.
Right. So some of the lessons from what you mentioned here is one is, of course, stick to the basics, as they say, stick to what you're
Yes.
good at. The
Yes.
other thing you mentioned was don't be too, think too differently during a time of a crisis. Would that be the right way to put it?
Yeah, I mean,
And
see, thinking differently in the time of crisis. Of course, you and I both have to think differently when a crisis situation hits. But I think in a crisis, driven situation, I think you do what you just said. First best is just stick to your
stick to the
basics.
basics. That's
I
right.
mean, it's very simple in a cricket game. I mean, you're losing wickets on the trot. You know, you're going to attack the ball. The ball is defeating you. You're losing wickets. So what are you going to do? Stick to the basics. Defend. Don't try to attack. So I
Right.
mean, that's the biggest takeaway that we had as a business during this period, and
Right.
learn to say no. I mean, in life we have been taught this. In life we have been
Fantastic.
taught this, but we just don't want to listen. We just don't want to learn. And these kind of crises, they taught us that it's fine. We had with great difficulty we had to say no to a lot of customers. We had to learn to say no because we just couldn't cope up with the demand then.
Okay. Great. So, Mike, the next question I have is on your book,
Mhm.
Dress the Part.
Yeah.
Also, I want to show off a bit that I've read your book. So, it's a fantastic tool. I mean, I must be very honest. I learned a lot about, uh, and good books are always ones which teach you, right? I mean,
Of
so
course.
from that perspective as well. So, what made you write the book? So, you could have written about anything. I know you have knowledge about a whole host of things. You could have written about Cambridge, for example,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
still chose to write about dressing the part. I mean, just give me a little glimpse into what made you write this book and not something about Cambridge, for example. I'm
Yeah.
sure you'll write about Cambridge at some stage, but what made you write about dressing the part at this stage?
Yeah, so now that you have read the book and now that you said that you have read the part that nobody really reads, the preface, the foreword. So in that, I have very specifically said that, at one point of time, I thought that writing about Cambridge would have been the best thing. That, how many brands in India have, I mean, have we seen that have survived the onslaught of international competition,
Right.
uh, you know, extraordinary situations like we went through with COVID,
Right.
recessions, and all of those things. How many
Absolutely.
besides, and I'm going on record to say that besides Raymond's, which is I think almost all closing in on probably 100 years of existence,
Yeah.
not as an apparels brand, but as a brand that was
Brand
made in
itself.
India, a textile brand. I
Right.
think I won't be wrong in saying this, Vipul, when I say this that Cambridge is the only second then.
Right.
So that was basically common sense. That was a no-brainer that I should write about it. But I started writing about it, and I suddenly, kind of lost interest. I said, "This story is not complete yet.
Yes.
This story is not complete yet, and the best is yet to come. So this should be." I
Written.
think
Right.
I think I would do more justice to Cambridge as a subject maybe when I have done enough justice to it as a brand, as a brand custodian, So maybe that was not the time.
Right.
So I kind of dropped it, and then I just kind of completely dropped the idea of writing anything. Then suddenly, I think it was during this whole COVID phase, I realized that you know there was a lot of we had a lot of time, so we were doing a lot of social media interaction. So on WhatsApp, you would see these funny messages that a man sits for a meeting with a shirt and a tie and is wearing his boxer shorts, checkered
Right.
shorts, and he realizes later that oops, the
The
camera's
wrong
on
camera
and
was
my
on.
bosses and my team and my colleague has seen it. So I don't know, kind of from there, it just occurred to me that what is it that I know best? I
Right.
said, Cambridge as a brand is a brand that I have worked for. I have been lucky, fortunate that as a third generation entrepreneur, as a third generation custodian, I am working for this brand. But what is it that I, as Prashant, can bring to the table? And
Right.
that was my 20 plus years of knowledge in terms of how men should dress.
Hmm.
Fortunately or unfortunately, there's been, until date, I don't see anybody who has spoken with men in the language that I decided to speak with, which was like almost like having a one-to-one conversation with you, a
Yeah.
chat with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was the best way to share my expertise. And as Vipul, as they say, common sense is not so common. I I had this knack, and it's a dirty habit. I've been asked by family members not to do this, but I can constantly pick on people. Not I don't go and pick on them physically, or go say things to them, but I see what they're wearing. What is the right, are they pairing the right socks, are they wearing the right length of socks with their formal attire, are they wearing the right colors, are the shoes and the belts coordinated, is the
Correct.
shirt the right fit to wear, is the other pair of pants just fashionable, is he dressed for the occasion? So I said that, with and it just actually came in the blood. I mean, then I'll say that, it's just
Yeah.
come in the blood that, we observe these things, we know what to pair what with. That's how we
Correct.
build our entire portfolio of products. So when we pick colors, we pick designs, we know what's going to go well as a combination. Are you going to wear it with a pair of denims? Are you going to pair it with a pair of chinos? Are you going to pair it with a pair of formal pants? And what is the permutation combination that we can offer you best as a consumer? So with all of that in mind, I said, why not present, or I said, let me just pen it down. Let me pen it down. So after I wrote this entire thing, I realized I had no more than 65 pages of material to talk about. I said, this is stupidity. This is utter stupidity. No one is going to pay attention. No one is going to pick this subject. And I kind of just let it sit, or, I said, it's okay. Let it just sit for a few more months. Then I kind of said, let me go back and see, does it still make any
This still
sense?
makes sense. Yeah.
So I went back to it. It made sense. I kind of did a little bit more editing, and it just so happened in one of the business networking chapters, the BNI, that I'm a part of.
Yeah.
I met Mr. Pramod Khera, who's the head of Curate Books. He's a publisher. I got introduced to him through a fellow member, and I just kind of like literally embarrassed is the right word, that I wasn't sure that, is this guy going to laugh at me? I was already embarrassed thinking about his reactions. I said, no, let me
Sure.
just still try to see what does he feel about the subject. And he loved the subject. He said, this subject, Prashant, has not been spoken about. And true
Correct.
so, Vipul, because you have numerous, and I'm saying numerous texts and videos and everything talking to women, because that
Absolutely.
apparently is a more lucrative and a more fascinating world than a man's boring wardrobe.
Yeah.
So that subject, he also saw a lot of merit in. We brought in an editor, to edit the text, and we shared with him this. We got his opinion as well. He loved it, and to my surprise, he said, Prashant, there's not much that I can edit. You're not giving me anything to edit. There's nothing.
Right.
It's plain vanilla, simple language that you're trying to talk to the reader in. But then I said, I don't really want to do the boring black and white images. I want to bring to life what I am trying to share with the reader, and that's what we did. We invested in good quality paper. We said, let the cost go up. It's fine. That's not the
Intent. Yeah.
it's not the objective.
Yeah.
Making money was not the objective for this. My objective was to educate my the men out there who have depended on, like you put up, probably depended on your father, your brother, your uncle, your friends for information on
Absolutely.
what to wear, when to wear, first job, what should I wear, what should I not wear, what's a good thing to do, what's the right thing to do. So when we have depended on peers and family and friends on this information, why not have something like this? And it's a very handy book. It's a very small handy book that you can probably just keep inside your wardrobe, literally, and whenever you feel lost. And this can happen to us at any point of time. And so whenever you feel lost, just pick it up and go back to the basics. And that book also is what I have been trying to do with my business, is build it around basics, because
Right.
that will never let you down. So that was how Dress the Part came into being.
So this is for our people on the community. I mean, please do yourself a favor. Go to Amazon, look for Dress the Part by Prashant Bhatia and buy the book. It is only 62 pages. If I could read it in 2 hours flat, I'm sure you can do it too. But you'll be much richer after what you read, because this is all about how you can dress for different occasions. And how do you dress when you go to office? How do you dress when you're in a casual situation? He's even said, how do you dress and go to a grocery store, for heaven's sake? He's actually given tips on that. And it's when you actually read it, the feeling one gets is, yes, I never thought of this. And I'm going to do exactly what Prashant does. Next time I'm going to check out other people, what they wear when they go to the grocery store or when they go to the gym, or so on and so forth. So, uh, lovely book, Prashant. And also, I must say about Prashant is that, he's one guy, I've never seen him dress wrong. Prashant, I also incidentally observe other people, although I can't claim to be an authority in that. But, your way of dressing is close to what you've mentioned in the book, in terms of being immaculate, in terms of what to dress for what occasion. I rarely, if ever, have seen you get it wrong. I don't think I've ever done that, but I don't think I've seen you ever get it wrong. So yeah, I mean, you're a living example of your own brand.
Thank you so much, Vipul.
Okay, so now let's get on to power dressing. This is something we put out, and I'm sure a lot of people might be wondering what is power dressing. So can you kind of unlock that word for us?
Break it down.
Open. What does power dressing mean? And in this context, I'll take one question which has come on the community.
Yeah.
So this is a question from Viren Chabra.
Okay.
He says, how does one strike the balance between personal style and professional attire? When aiming for success in various industries. So, personal style and professional attire. So, and, we're talking about power dressing. So how does one do? Because, you typically find people wear something and say, this is me.
Correct.
If they wear something odd, they'll say, this is me. So how does one strike that right balance? And of course, different industries have different ways of dressing, right?
Correct. So I'll kind of just take this up on a lighter note. We've all seen this movie that Rocky and Rani, whatever that movie had called.
Right.
Wherein, we see all Ranveer Singh is like the flamboyant Gucci, Fendi brand ambassador. He's just wearing that. But that's basically his style.
Right.
Correct. That is his style, that he likes to dress that way. But that is not what he can probably walk in to a bank as probably a manager of the bank, or as one of the employees who's working there, or in any kind of business situation. That's not a professional situation. Or even if you're self-employed, I'll say that in that situation, your personal style it cannot extend into the space of what is acceptable in the industry that you're walking in. So that I know it's a very crisp way of cutting this discussion, but yeah, personal style can be that I like to wear a particular kind of a fit of shirts, for example.
Right.
But that's my personal style. I like to wear it that way. I like to have the first button open. I like to flamboyantly have my my jewelry sparkle. But that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable when you are going into a professional setting. So you can't be doing that. You can't say, this is my style and this is how it's gonna be. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, that's why I said that we men are not told. We haven't learned that except from people who are around us. And they are we probably end up copying them, parents more so, and friends as well, and siblings as well. But that may not be the right way to do it. So to address Viren's question, personal style and professional, boundaries, I'll put it that way, is that depending on the industry where you are. Now, an advertising professional can get away with almost everything and anything, because that is not a place where people are going to take you seriously on the basis of your attire. But you change hats, you come out of that agency and you walk into, as I said again, the most like the IT sector, for example, or you talk about the banking, financial services industry, where there is a lot of interaction, face-to-face interaction that's happening between you and your customer or anybody else, or your colleagues. There is a code of conduct. There is a dressing code. There are dressing ethics that you have to follow. And this is basically what I have been trying to talk in the book as well, that you have to work within certain boundaries, and within those boundaries, you explore your own style then. Like, for example, I'll just simply put it, I won't take more time on this subject, but for example, I love blues. I mean, wearing blues, blue shirts and black trousers, the common, most staple blue with beige as an attire, the most American way of wearing blues with khakis, So, I mean, I could explore that, I could, instead of doing chinos, I could do fitted pants. That's my personal style. Instead of doing regular shirts, regular collar, boring shirts, oversized shirts, I could do slim fit shirts. I could do button down shirts. That's my style. That's how I like to wear my clothes. But am I going to stand out in the crowd in the negative way? No, I am within the confines of of the expected behavior in terms of my dressing. So I would not have crossed that boundary, yet I am expressing my personal style. Like you said that, you are immaculately dressed, but yeah, I mean, I'm wearing the same colors as you are wearing, but I am just tweaking it a little bit here and there to kind of explore my definition of style. So I hope I've answered that question.
I think you have. Okay, so there is a very interesting question from Jenny Matthew on the community. So the question is, what are your views on Gen Z's dressing sense in the corporate world?
Wow, that's a very interesting subject, and one it's a code that we ourselves at Cambridge as a brand, we are trying to crack that code.
All right.
So I have a 20-year-old. I think I can call him a Gen Z now, and I have a 14-year-old as well. So I don't know if he's an alpha in the new age definition, or he's still like a mix of the alpha and Gen Z. So I see them as very different compared to the rest of us, So, it is a herd mentality from whatever I have gathered. They they actually do everything in herds. So the simplest explanation of this is, I used to see my son sitting in the corner of the house with no air conditioning, no fans in the room on, and he's wearing a hoodie. Oh. And I'm thinking Mumbai, in a city like Mumbai, 35 degrees outside, and you're sitting in the room without any ventilation. Why are you wearing a hoodie? That's what we do, Dad, was the way he spoke with me.
Okay.
But in terms of their attire, and this I've seen, with my own kids, is like they are very conscious. See, the difference between them, us, and probably the in-between generations that have gone also is that they have a lot more access to information versus what we had. They have so much more in terms of social media that's happening, and so much more. And I think they are a little, on one end, they are very fashion conscious. And on the other end, I've seen a lot of them who are, kind of sober in their whole outlook of dressing. They do not like to dress up too much.
Right.
In the workplace, they go by the code of ethics. So with them, I think they have found the right balance. It's thanks to the information that's, available to them. So that I think they are sorted, and they will not need this book at all. I'm sure about that.
Okay, so just we'll get back to Cambridge a little bit, because I think there's a lot of interest about brand Cambridge, or the brand itself. So there's a very interesting question from Desmond, and now actually thinking back, I should have asked you that at the start, but I didn't. So thanks, Desmond, for asking this question, and I'll throw it to the man himself. He's asking, why is Cambridge called Cambridge?
Very interesting. I asked my father the same question, and I think he must have asked my grandfather the same question.
Right.
So this is 1960. Okay, we are talking about. It's like even before I was born. So 1960 when we're talking about, and he apparently, I mean not apparently, but he worked in South Mumbai, the
Right.
Colaba area, South Mumbai, which is the southernmost tip of Mumbai, for those who do not know. And that was basically the fashion hub at that particular point of time. So the best and the most premium brands. And as I said, he was working as an accountant in one such apparel manufacturing company. So the place where he worked, he used to go every day into work, and there was this tailoring shop which had Cambridge written in some funny way. And I don't know the exact story because my dad also kind of fails to fill me in on the exact story. But he kind of thought that this is a very British sounding name. It's a very international name,
Right.
and one that will intrigue a lot of people. And till date, it happens that nobody has said that it's such a funny name. Why do you have this name? Because we tend to kind of question everything. But now, if we put Cambridge together with your Peter England and your Marks and Spencer, your Alan Solly, it doesn't sound any different. It sounds
Absolutely.
just as multinational as any other name. So yeah, I mean, it was his vision. So I thank him and I give it to him because he was a visionary at that particular point. I mean, 1960, when he could have thought of this, when nobody was around, he thought of this very unique name. So yeah, that's when I don't know. I can't take credit for this. I must just give credit to my grandfather who thought of this name and came up with the idea of starting this.
Very often branding is all about simplicity, right? I mean, simple ideas executed well. And I think the thinking may have been very simple. It sounds great. So, let's call it that. And,
Yeah,
sometimes it's just a simple thought like that.
true.
And without too much of analysis of why it is done this way, and it works over a period of time. Incidentally, I don't know if you are aware, but there was a brand called Oxford also, which was launched
Yes.
in the mid 90s,
Yes, yes, yes.
which
If
was,
I'm
and,
not
and I
mistaken,
remember
it
when it
was
launched, it was called a copy of Cambridge, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was from either it was the Arvind group or it was the Aditya Birla group. I'm not very sure, but yes,
Yeah.
somebody did. Somebody did in fact call it the Oxford University, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I remember it being casual wear targeted at the youth. But yes, they used the whole Oxford bit as well. But yeah, I mean, didn't really work, didn't stick around.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Correct. Correct. Okay. So, a brand like yours, has a legacy of many, many years. Generations of people use it. In fact, like I was telling you a couple of days ago, my son, his first blazer is from Cambridge. I've been using Cambridge products for the longest time. In fact, this one is a Cambridge. So, I'm sure you have dozens and or hundreds of such customers. What is and what is their feedback, or do you get letters or emails or things like that, saying that my grandfather used it, my father used it, something like what happens with a Bajaj scooter, I mean,
Yeah.
or a Bajaj, is
Yeah,
there
yeah.
something like that you can share with us?
So very interesting that you bring this up, and I'll just share one example of what is this entire legacy, what is this customer belief in this whole
Sure.
brand and everything. So a few years back, one of our franchisees from the Dadar store,
Right.
he called me. He said, "Today I had a customer who was probably in his mid 60s. So and he came to me and he brought in a shirt which was almost 25 years old.
Wow. Okay.
It's unimaginable for in this generation or in this age now to think about you having a shirt which is almost 20-25 years old. I said, then what happened? He said he came and he said that this fabric on the collar has torn and can we replace it for him?
Wow. Okay. So he wanted to continue to use it.
He wanted it. And he said, Sir, ye 25 saal purana hai. He said it to him. He said, Sir, looking by the label, that logo, he says, Haan, to kya hua? There is nothing wrong with this. I still want to use it. I still like it. There's nothing wrong with this, except for the fact that the collar has gone off. Can you replace the collar inside parts of the collar for me? Yes or no? Say that. That is testament, I think, to the brand. That is testament to the brand. And those are our success stories. Those are our I think those are brand ambassadors. We've
Correct.
never had a brand ambassador. We never had a face. But I think these kind of customers who come back to us knowing very well that we are still going to fix something that they had bought from this particular store 20 years back, 10 years back, 5 years back, or whatever time back, because that's how we sell it to them. We tell them that if should there be any problem, we are here. Should there be any problem, we are here to solve it for you. And yeah, we do attempt to do it, to the maximum extent possible. And just to go on the record, I mean, we did try to fix a part of his collar, give it back to him. He says, now I'm going to wear this shirt again for as long as I live. So yeah, I mean, those are testaments. Those are our real letters, a testimonial, or whatever you want to call it. So those are our true testaments, and those are our true brand ambassadors who come back to us with these kind of products.
Great. So what next, Prashant? I mean, what's your vision for the future? I mean, what is Cambridge going to do from here on?
I think the next, with the changing times, Vipul, what has happened is, I mean, we've seen due to so much of, excessive civilization, development, and whatever. I mean, we have caused a dent, or we have damaged the environment in some particular way or the other, because of which we see extremities in the weather, in global warming, just to call it that. And the way fashion is going, we see fast fashion also coming in, which is kind of adding to the textile landfills across continents. And we don't really see it in countries like India, but it's happening in countries like the continent of Africa. It's happening. I'm sure you are in the industry, so you're reading a lot more also about it. There are textile landfills. Now, where is that going to go? Not that we are not contributing to it. We are, of course, as a brand, as a clothing company, we are also contributing to that, the deterioration of the environment and the planet as well. But now what we are doing is we are consciously getting into certain kinds of raw materials, certain kind of textile products that are going to be lesser impactful, that are sustainable, that will help the whole conservation bit. So we have introduced certain lines of product. For example, a few months back, like in the last festival season, we launched products. We launched shirts, to be more specific, made out of the bamboo fibers. Yeah. So we did that, and plans are afoot now to keep adding certain amounts of these elements into the portfolio to make it. One is to show that we are responsible as well. Being a 64-year brand also brings in or rather puts a lot of responsibility on ourselves. Right. We have the responsibility to kind of take care of everything that's happening around us, and the environment is the first thing that we have to take care after. So this is the biggest thing that we're doing is introducing sustainable textile products in our product range. That's what we want to do. And what we are also doing on the business front, on the growth front, is that we are rapidly expanding our store count. We're trying to reach to as many tier 2, 3, and 4 cities and towns possible.
Yeah.
Where there is a customer for our product like us. We take pride in the fact that at one point of time, a fellow textile colleague in a forum that I was attending at one business college, somebody asked him, one of the principals came in, and he was probably not from Mumbai, so he told him that he asked him to introduce me, and he said, this gentleman, Prashant Bhatia, represents the Maruti of the apparel industry. So I mean, that was a big statement that guy made. So, I mean, we all know Maruti has everything for everybody. It has, I mean, we all have driven our first car. Of course, we have driven the Fiats and the Ambassadors, but our first luxury car was a Maruti. That's the first car today that we think of giving to our kids as well, that, start with a Maruti, then graduate to the others. So, we are proud. We take a lot of pride in the fact that we have something for everybody. And our price points are really attractive. We start as low as $399 and we go all the way through about $3,000 as well. The jackets are also very attractively priced. But the point of the matter is that there is a big community of consumers in these interiors of the country, wherein we do not get access to brands like ours, or we haven't reached out to them. and that, as it was in part because of our the cutback that we did in our entire expansion strategy after COVID happened. But yeah, now as I said, things are looking good. We feel the need. We are told as we go to from one small town into another, we are told that सर आपके जैसा ब्रांड चाहिए हमको, हमारे कस्टमर को यहाँ पे, हमारे गांव में, हमारे शहर में, तालुका में, डिस्ट्रिक्ट में. We hear those kind of, literally these are the kind of words. And recently, I was at a store opening in this area called Pate, Vadgaon, which is just 15 kilometers before Kolhapur. Now, Kolhapur
Right.
we know as the Mercedes capital of India,
Correct.
right? But still, in this Pate, Vadgaon, I was there a night prior to the store opening, Vipul, and these ladies walk in, and this is, I'm saying, is the actual real world example that I'm sharing with you. Is she's been a loyal consumer to that store. It was a brand that belonged to somebody. I mean, it was a brand store for some other brand earlier, and now that guy converted that into a Cambridge store. So that lady, a pair of these ladies, they're like, हाँ मतलब reasonable कपड़ा तो होना अच्छा तो चाहिए. Everybody wants something good, but they said that it should be affordable as well. And that's exactly what Cambridge stands for.
Yeah.
We have internal debates, we have internal boxing and punches and fights, and everything is flying around because let's increase margins. But that's something that I don't think I'm comfortable with being a promoter of the brand. It's very easy, Vipul, for us to say, you know what, 5% is not going to hurt anybody. 5% is really not going to hurt anybody. But I don't know, somehow I can't sleep. I can't sleep at night thinking that, my price point from 399 has to go to 450 or 425. I was like, I've always taught my seniors also this, because I believe in this. It's like a shift of, one particular decimal place also affects us so much when we are going and buying something. Imagine what it's going to do to, so many hundreds and thousands of people when they are, moving salary to salary, they are moving paycheck to paycheck, and still they aspire to wear something that's good. So why not we focus on increasing our footprint to an extent wherein, that gives us the muscle to keep prices affordable. So that's a very conscious exercise that we are working on. And yeah, we are very aggressively, we are very bullish about our growth plans for this year. So while contributing to the environment, keeping a portfolio of products that's going to be using a lot of sustainable materials, the focus is going to be on growing the brand, making it more technology friendly, making it more accessible to everyone in every in corners of the country. So that's basically what we have planned now.
Okay. Are you already present online?
Yeah, but we are not present in the marketplace models like your Amazons and Flipkarts of the world,
Right.
because of the discounting. People, to be very honest, they are discounting at the prices that they sell at. After discounts is a price that we are already selling at full price in our stores.
Right.
That's I don't know if that's good or that's bad, but I've been told again by industry experts that you'll have to increase your price and then show in a discount. Something that doesn't go down well are our ethical make
Way
or
of doing things.
makeup or whatever, the way we are made, it just doesn't, we're just not happy with the fact that I have to increase the price of something to sell online and then discount it. If we're happy, we are with there. According to me, as I said, I studied in the US for a couple of years. So from my experience, online should be for convenience and not for discounting. Unfortunately, in India, it started on a very different note. We said online hai to sasta hai. Online hai to sasta hai. That's why we had the electronic price wars, the mobile phone price wars, and so much of protest happening from all of the offline players. But yeah, I mean, we're there online, but our focus is to make it convenient for people who have moved out of certain cities where they were accessing the brand to a city where they don't have a store, so they can buy online and still use the brand. So that's basically for convenience. Yes, we are present.
Sure. So now coming to the reason for this podcast, which is business networking, and you're a part of BNI, as you mentioned earlier as well. So that helped you publish your book.
Yes.
And of course, we are both part of the same group in BNI. So how's been your experience? I mean, as a business networker? How's been your experience so far?
I was a frog of the well, I think. If I have to put it in a nutshell,
Okay.
I was the frog in the well, and now I'm the frog in the ocean. So I mean, the frog has remained the frog. The frog hasn't changed into a prince.
Right.
No princess came and kissed the frog to change.
Okay.
No, jokes apart, but yeah. So I think most of the times what happens is in businesses like ours, and when I say businesses like ours, Vipul, I mean family-run businesses.
Right.
uh, our networking circle is pretty much the people who we are doing business with.
Right.
At most, you'll add maybe 5 retailers, you'll meet 10 retailers. But still, you're just increasing your knowledge base, you're increasing your social base only within that circle, only within that community. What BNI did for me personally was open up doors to a world that I never knew existed. Like I met Mr. Pramod Khera, who I
Correct.
met you. I mean, like I met so many other members who I have developed good bonds with. I've learned so much from all of you people. And I think, it's all about learning.
Right.
It's that's one thing I've realized is that the process never stops. Unfortunately, we stop ourselves when we say that, what we're doing is good enough. This is taking care of everything, and I don't
Right.
need to go out of my comfort zone. Networking requires you to go out of your comfort zone, putting yourself
Interesting.
out there. So this is what BNI actually helped me. It helped me put myself out there in the market, talk to people. That's one part of it, how it helped me grow as an individual. uh,
Correct.
Secondly, it brought me in contact with another industry, which is basically institutional sales or the uniform space that we talk about.
Right.
So my category at BNI is I'm a vendor of uniforms. So I ended up meeting hoteliers, chains of hotels, and we are proud to say that we are working with some of the finest properties in India today. We are dressing their entire team up. The people who are working in the back end kitchens, the chefs. We're doing housekeeping uniforms. We're doing the front desk uniforms. Then and then there are industries where we are manufacturing uniforms for the people who are working behind the machines. So it's the manufacturing workers or the workers in the manufacturing units. Then it's the people who are working in the sales industries as well. So it's giving me it's introduced me to a world that I did not know had so much opportunity. Ready to wear as an industry is always spoken about, but institutional sales, workwear, not the workwear, the formal workwear that we talk about. Workwear is what a worker will wear inside a factory.
Right.
That is his workwear. That is what he or she wears Monday to Friday or during those working hours. So workwear for different industries is what I got exposed to, and it's actually a different kind of a high. Talking
Right.
about brands that you can work with, it gives you good volumes as well. It builds and it helps you build relationships. That's the best part. You meet so many people in these different varied industries as well. So it's a beautiful learning exercise, and I think all of us should be like Singapore has. I believe that they have 2 years of compulsory military service that you have to do after you graduate. I think
Right.
for entrepreneurs there should be a networking thing which should be mandatory, that you have to
Mandatory.
go
Okay.
out and network. Just do it. Like for 2 years, you do it. The third year, you will not need anybody. You will not need any advertising. You'll be able to pick up the phone, call someone, and say, "Hey, you know what? I have this product. I know this is what you need. How can I help you?"
If any of the top management of BNI is listening to this to this podcast, I'm sure going to give them ideas on how to promote business networking.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure about
But
that.
I kind of liked what you said. I mean, it's like it should become. I mean, if not mandatory in that sense, I think entrepreneurs should make it mandatory for themselves
Yeah.
to try out business networking. And this is something, and which is the reason why even on this podcast, I've tried to bring people from different industries, because networking actually works for different types of industries. In fact, possibly works for all kinds of industries. It of course depends on how well you do it. Prashant, you are almost a black belt there. And you are as good a networker as anybody else. So, uh, one last question we'll take from the community, and this is because I thought this was again very interesting. This is more in the power dressing context that we were speaking about. So it's a
Mhm.
question from Aniket Rao. His question is, what are some common mistakes people make when it comes to dressing to work, and how can we avoid them?
Uh, Once I be a little can I be a little of a salesperson? Aniket, just go
Sure.
buy the book. You'll know all. You'll have all the answers to the question. But just to answer it in the context that he's asking, there's so many mistakes, and there are small mistakes, and it's not even mistakes. It's basically I won't call them mistakes. I'll just say it's basically lack of knowledge, lack
Right.
of knowledge. And I'll just point a few things out of the book, like you should always match the color of your socks with your bottoms that you're wearing. So if you're wearing black pants, please do not wear white socks. That is what school kids do. We're not supposed to wear white socks with black pants. So you always try to match the color, at least bring it to the closest color possible. No skin should show. Sports socks are called sports socks for a reason. You're not supposed to wear it with formal trousers. You cannot pair checks with stripes. You cannot wear a black belt with brown shoes. And the list is endless. That's basically it's lack of knowledge. We don't know. For a
Right.
lack of better word is we don't know. It's just lack of knowledge. So these are some small things, and I think Aniket, there are so many websites also available. The book is always there for you. It will always stay with you. It's only a 60-page guide,
Correct.
but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of information on the internet that will tell you, how to dress up for an occasion, and what's the most common sense things that you should do. Shouldn't do is a bigger list, but if you stick to what you should do,
Should
you
do.
will avoid the rest very easily, very comfortably.
Well, I can't avoid taking this question, although it's not in your domain. As we say in BNI, it's not in your category, but I'll still take it. This is from Advait Singh, and I'm asking you this because it's close to what you do. So his question is, how can body language and posture complement your professional appearance? And I'm asking you this because I've seen you consciously work on that bit. So
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question that he's asked. Now I don't know how to address this question, but you could be wearing a fantastic suit, like the most expensive suit, and I could be wearing the most inexpensive one. But how you stand, how literally it's like how your shoulders are placed, how your chest is pumped, and what your face says, how your face is looking, how you're using your hands. So basically all of these things that come as part of the body language part. So
right, right,
how are you doing this? I mean, versus this guy, and if you are doing a better job of it, if you are able to carry it off in our in the apparel world, we say, can you carry it off?
carry it off.
Can you carry it off? Which is basically nothing but nothing else, no other way but to say that your body language basically has to support what you're wearing.
That's right.
You could, like I said, you could be wearing the most expensive Rocky Randhawa kind of a shirt, but I mean, he still could carry it off with his body and his postures. People like you and I can't carry it off. We'd be
Right.
slouching, we'd be clumsy with our actions, we could be clumsy with our, fingers, with our hands, whatever. But I think it's 50%. Now that you're asking me this question, a very interesting question is that I think 50% of the job is done, the way you carry what you wear.
Yeah.
You could, I mean, you don't have to, and that's what I say in the book as well, that you don't have to own the most expensive pieces.
Right.
There's something that, and that's why I always say, I've always written, in fact, I've very strongly advocated that the online guys are going to hate me for this, that don't just go rush and buy something because it's on a steal, it's at a deal online. Go to a store, try a piece, see how does it look on you. Ask two
Right.
people. I mean, that thing is never going to go out of trend.
Correct.
Ask your friends, ask your family, ask as a store salesperson. He'll tell you, do you look like a monkey or the monkey's uncle? He'll tell you that. Are you doing justice? And
Yeah.
and I think more times than not, people are honest. Unless they want to sell, but they don't want to sell you something in which
Something, yeah, rubbish.
not going to look your part. So try things on. See, you don't have to own expensive pieces. Try something on and use your body language. Use your confidence to the maximum. You don't have to wear a 5,000 rupee shirt to compete with somebody who's wearing that. I mean, you have your other uh, you know you have your other positives to compete on. So I mean, use your body language. Use that. Use the gift of gab.
Correct.
Use that. So I hope I have helped him answer this question.
I hope so too. I mean, thanks very much for answering that. And so Prashant, we are coming to the close of the hour. In fact, we've crossed the hour. And is there anything else that you would like to say, which you thought I will ask you, and you were prepared that, and I have left out. So if there's anything like that, you can address that.
I think you never are prepared enough, Vipul, for these kind of situations. But I think the only thing that I'd like to share, or rather a few things from my learning of 24 years, uh, is that life is funny. Life has a funny way of teaching you things. So and it's like we plan for, so like I plan to take up a job with General Motors. I plan not to come back to this country. But 24 years later, here I'm sitting and doing this podcast with you. So I mean, life has plans for you. You just have to kind of go with the flow at times. You have to believe that something is going to work out for you. That's something that I've learned. And I think so many motivational speakers and everybody has said that enjoy what you do, and that is true. You have to enjoy what you do. You have to enjoy waking up in the morning, coming to that same space, and you have to go back looking forward to coming back the next day as well. So enjoying the whole thing, and it's not a goal. It's not an end process. That's what I've realized. So just to kind of digress a little bit, I had this. I always believed in this. That one must have a vision board, and I still believe in vision boards, because what you see is what you get, is
Right.
what I strongly believe. So I thought that I could manifest a BMW. I thought, before my 35th birthday, I'm going to manifest if I have it on my screensaver. I mean, but it did not happen. It did not happen because I was looking at that as my end goal. I wasn't looking at the journey in between.
Yeah.
And that's something that I have very strongly learned in these 24 years, is that just enjoy the journey. Because it's going to continue till the time we actually pass out from this realm into the next one. It's a journey, and the peak of one mountain is the bottom of another.
The next one. Fantastic.
Right? So you are constantly gonna have to learn to climb those mountains. Unless you are a monk who sold his Ferrari, at the end of the day you said, I'm gonna sell off everything, I'm just gonna retire, do nothing. Then I have nothing, I have no wise words to give, then I'd probably ask you for advice. But yeah, I mean, enjoy the process and don't just focus on the goal. It's a journey. That's what I've also learned from a lot of people I've done business with, is focus on the present, focus on the journey. The goals, I mean, everything else will fall in place.
Focus on the journey, go with the flow, and dress the part.
And
That's
rest of
what
us.
is the advice from Prashant Bhatia. Thank you very much for your time, Prashant. Really enjoyed this conversation,
Thank you.
and
Thank
wish you
you.
all the best for the next 24 years of Cambridge.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vipul. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for being this wonderful host.